episode 114, I'm delighted to be joined by 2022 Kerry LGFA captain Anna Galvin. In this episode, we discuss kicking and skills, preparing for an All-Ireland final, Kerry LGFA switching to the Navy shorts, Division 1 football, what is the next step for Kerry, and so much more. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with Anna, so I hope you get something from the episode. Okay, hi Anna, thanks a million for joining me on the podcast. I think we've been talking for nearly a year now trying to get this date and trying to get it recorded.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of back and forth to finally get a time that we were both free to do this.
It's January time, it's the end of the month. You've gone, started the league, it's two from two wins. This is obviously a great start for 2023, moving up to Division 1.
Yeah, definitely. Jeez, we got off to a decent start against Waterford, as in probably the performance wasn't great and conditions, it's January football, conditions aren't great at the minute, but we still managed to hold on to a 1-point win away from home last weekend and this weekend. So, we're actually, I'd say probably top of the table with Galway now. So always nice to be kind of in a decent position starting out. Really hard when you're putting the back foot, and if you lose a couple of games, it can be really, really hard to gather momentum and get back on, I suppose, winning terms. So it definitely takes a little bit of the pressure off, but probably not ideal performances, but you're like, that's January football, isn't it?
Exactly. You went all the way, obviously, with competition last year, got to the All-Ireland final. It's a long year, a long season. Between the off-season, let's say this point, when does the hunger come back, to kind of come back into it? Does it ever leave? Are you, when you take that bit of time off, obviously there's club championship, but are you kind of starting to rear and to go straight away? Does it take a bit of time to get back into it? What's it kind of like after the season coming into January?
I think it definitely varies from person to person. Some people are able to play club championship, take a week or two off and turn around and go again. And it probably varies as well, depending on how many years you've been playing and whether you've taken a break in the interim and things like that. For me as well, and I know for the likes of Caught Lynch, we were afforded a bit more time because we obviously were commuting up and down from Dublin to Kerry all last year. So the lads, in fairness to them, were very good last year with managing all of that and managing our load, managing our commute and stuff. And then when it came back to coming in this year, it had been a pretty mad year last year. It was unreal. I still can't believe how phenomenal it was, and we fell that bit short. But that all, there was so much emotion, whether that was always some of it was positive and some of it was negative and a lot of it was draining. So yeah, definitely it varies. And I was given kind of right up until after Christmas, more or less. And whereas other girls were back a little bit earlier, but it takes it kind of, at the turn of November into December, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to go again now. I don't know whether I would have been able to go back in November when other players were kind of starting to pick up the boots again and get the ball rolling for the season ahead. I think I needed that extra bit of time, but that is totally dependent on, I suppose, each person's situation as well. So for me, I was glad, your kind of time is going on and you're kind of thinking, God, how are we going to go again? And then suddenly you start to miss it a little bit, then you start to miss it a lot. And you're like, all right, okay, I'm very ready to come back now, which is always the way you want to be coming back into the season.
Completely. And what is it for you? What drives you to play for Kerry? Is it the girls? Is it the playing high level football? I'm always interested with everyone's individual sort of motivation. What is it for you that drives you to play for Kerry?
Probably a lot of it, in fairness, so much of it does come down to the team that you're playing with and the environment that you're entering into. When you're stepping out day in, day out onto the training pitch, you want to be stepping out with girls that you like being around and things like that. So the team we have at the moment are so driven and so enthusiastic, and I think we all get on very well. Obviously we have our we have our moments and things like that, as you would in any team, but no, we get on great, and that's a huge part of it. I think as well, then you go around our team and there's not a single person on it that isn't fiercely competitive. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it was our upbringing or whether we were just kind of brought up enjoying sports, or I don't know how you I suppose instill competitiveness in somebody, but it's how we all are. And I think we just are keen to be playing at, like you said, at the top level. You want to play to the very, very best, and then you want to win at the very, very top level. So yeah, I think that we all have that kind of mad competitiveness in us.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting the way Gaelic football across men and women, and even down into county or to club level, how the mindset and the kind of what am I trying to say? Like, it's become so. I suppose it's evolved a lot from maybe 20 years ago, where it's a bit of commitment 2 or 3 days a week. Now it's basically professional training but it's an amateur sport. Can you describe the mindset? Like what it takes to be an intercounty footballer, away from the physical attributes that you need to obviously perform on the pitch, but those psychological or that mental edge that players have nowadays when you look across to your teammates, or I know you went to UL, or when you're looking to your competitors, is there certain mindset traits that you need to have away from being able to kick the balls out of the ball and play football?
Yeah, there definitely are. But it's not that those aren't necessarily, you can learn them, like you definitely can learn them. And lots of them are traits like, like I said, kind of hunger and competitiveness and things like that. And those sort of things are generally part of a person's personality. Like a lot of it, I'd be very competitive across the board, not just in sport. um, but then there are like huge skills that you need to be able to learn, and like discipline is not something that is necessarily a trait. You can learn how to be disciplined, and that is a huge one. You have to be able to stick to a routine and create and form habits. Like motivation, when we were coming back onto the pitch this year, you're kind of thinking, look, I'm really motivated because obviously got to the All-Ireland final last year, looking forward to the year ahead. It's, always that bit positive, but motivation only gets you so far. You have to be able to like get habits in place and build from there, because motivation will dwindle and you need to just have routines there. So if you can be disciplined enough to form them, I think that's a huge thing. And I think that like that's one thing that everybody on our team does, and everyone at intercounty level does. Like my life when I'm training and playing is it's pretty boring. Well, it's predictable. It's predictable. Like I know it's all very much so planned out. Like we're looking ahead, have all the fixtures in for right up until the end of the league. If someone gives me a shout and is like, any chance you're around any weekend, I'll be able to say, yeah, I'm around Saturday morning on whatever date. And like we're very, I suppose you just have to be methodical in your planning and things like that, because if you, well, maybe not everybody is, maybe not everybody else does have to be that methodical, but for me, I need to feel like I can control all these sort of factors, like knowing that I can make sure that I can get enough sleep in, have time to be able to prepare appropriate food throughout the week, and all of it takes so much time, like even just tracking food and things like that, to make sure you're getting the right protein, macronutrients, and nutrients and all that kind of thing. It takes a load of time. But then also you have to spend time kind of you have to allow time to kind of reflect on the weekend gone, on games and things like that, on training. And I suppose I'd be able to this again, like we worked a lot on, and we have a psychologist or a performance psychologist in LinkedIn with us as well, which is so helpful, that she's put loads of the groundwork in place for us, and we can just take what she tells us and kind of make it our own. But like we do work on kind of reflecting on weeks gone by and what has been good and what needs improving, and you have to work that into your weekly schedule as well. So I suppose there is a mindset to it, but so much of it is, like I said, it is just about predictability and kind of being disciplined in your routines and habits.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people obviously at intercounty level have to do this, but a lot of them also have to do another level, which, like yourself, you're travelling, you live in Dublin, you're travelling down to Kerry. What's like, that's obviously a balance in itself, never mind trying to play high level sport on top of it. When you're going through kind of those weeks and you're reflecting and you're making sure, whether it's your mental well-being or your physical well-being, because it's such a long travel time, say, like, are there red flags that you look for that says, geez, I might have to slow down here, I might have to have a conversation with the coach or the physio or the S&C coach? Is there any kind of predictable factors that you look at and say, geez, I'm not 100% here, maybe I should tone down this or that? Or when do you know you're kind of running low, maybe, for example?
So yeah, sometimes it's easier to tell than others. Sometimes it's hard to tell, and we do push ourselves to a little bit too far. And sometimes I think you're probably running along in a season, and you just keep going. You keep going, and you're kind of saying, when do you slow down? And sometimes it's better if you don't slow down, because if you slow down and stop, you might get going again. But no, definitely. Like, I think that's something that was, I think over the last like 2 or 3 years I've really worked on is thinking about, have I had time to do stuff outside of football? Because geez, like, yes, we're playing football, and it is, like you said, it's on an elite level, and it's not just training 2-3 times a week. Like, a huge amount of time goes into it, but we can't let all of our time go into it. So you have to make the most of the day off here and there. Like, one of your weekend days is nearly always going to be free, and I always try to keep this weekend it happened to be a Sunday. Normally it's a Saturday, and I always try to just make sure that I'm seeing people, like spend time with family and doing stuff outside of football, and just, doing things that I love doing, that helps me to switch off, that is absolutely nothing related with football and sport. Because yes, you have to be real tuned in, like I was saying, but also if you go like that for the whole season, it's not sustainable, and you will burn out. Some people are magicians and don't seem to get to that point, but that's certainly how it is for me. So like, for instance, our game was on Saturday this weekend, so I rarely enough am up in Dublin at the weekend. So today just did touristy things. Actually went to like Glasnevin Cemetery and went to the Botanic Gardens, and football doesn't even enter your mind when you're in these places. And it's nice to be able to switch off like that. So then probably red flags is when you're not having any time to do that. You don't have any time to see your family, see your loved ones. I have family up in Dublin. If I think, geez, I haven't been called down to my grandparents and my aunts in a couple of weeks now, I make sure that I eke out time for that during the week and stuff like that, because those things help to keep us well and keep us balanced.
Mm-hmm. When you're going through, as you said, the season there, it's week on week, with the league, and you're going to the championship, all gets very serious. Do you get a chance to enjoy it, or like, what is the enjoyable part for you? It's kind of hard when you're balancing work and this, and you're driving up and down, and you need to make time to do all these things, that's not football related. Like, do you ever get a chance to just sit there and just enjoy it, or what are those moments that you do enjoy?
Geez, yeah, even just like sitting in the dressing room before or after games, or well, after if we've won. But like, yeah, like, just spending time with the girls and stuff is great fun. Like, and on the bus, and just chatting and being around them is really lovely. Like, that's what I was saying. Like, that's a huge part of the reason that I do love playing, is because we have such a great team and it is such a great environment. And then yeah, I love stepping out onto the pitch, and I love playing football. So I do get huge enjoyment out of that. I love the feeling after a hard session, and you've survived a hard session and things like that. It feels great. Some people don't necessarily like that, as in, I suppose that's what separates people who do play into county and who decide not to, or have different priorities and things like that. Whereas it is intense, but I love the intensity. So I get to enjoy it in that sense as well. And then, like, winning always is
That always
always
helps.
is nicer if you can keep going on if you can keep going on a winning run. That is great. It's a little bit more difficult when you're in a bit of a losing rut. So hopefully we don't go down that path at any stage this year. But no, there's you just have to kind of enjoy it while you're in it. And as well, like, I'm 28 soon, and I suppose it is a finite, your footballing career is finite, And I'm probably more aware of that now than ever. So I'm just trying to make the most of it and just give it my all, because I love giving it my all, and pouring my heart and soul into something. So that I do, like, you get enjoyment out of it that way too.
Yeah, completely. I heard I think it was Keane O'Sullivan speak last year, and he was talking about when you're in the bubble of intercounty, people
Yeah.
say, oh, you're making these sacrifices, you're missing weddings and you're missing parties, and that is a big, and you're missing family events, which is a big thing. And remember, I think he said when he retired, he went to a couple of weddings and went to a couple of this and that, and he was like, was this all I'm missing? It's not for me. For him, it wasn't this big sacrifice, whereas to other people, like maybe for myself, say, I would hate to miss all these things, and it would be a burden. But I think when you're at, like, it sounds like for you that when you're saying it's a finite amount of time that you're playing for Kerry, that yes, you're making sacrifices, you miss family things you don't want to, but that's part of the game. That's part of why you love football. So you're probably, because I asked them before and they said, do you feel like you're missing out on the kind of the typical, when you're 28, just probably loads of social things going on, different things like that, you might be missing out on the traditional, in air quotes, traditional style, lifestyle of a 28-year-old. Is that something you're conscious of? Does it enter your mind? Does it bother you? Or are you just kind of happy to play for Kerry?
Kind of just happy to play for Kerry. To be honest, I don't know hugely the difference. Now, I spent a year in Australia, and you kind of, yeah, Keane, like, so he said that you live in a bubble, and you absolutely do. And then when you exit the bubble, you kind of forget what it feels like to be in there sometimes, and you get on with living your normal life and going to living, yeah, the normal kind of going to all those events and things like that. And it's all great for a while, but yeah, I feel like there's something missing in that way, as opposed to like when I'm like, even that year was so good to get away, and I loved being in Australia. It was absolute class, but there was always something in the back of my mind where I was like, oh, I don't know, am I missing something here? Whereas when I'm playing football and I'm not getting to those social events, it never enters my mind that there's something missing. Um, it just, I suppose it's just a given that I know I'm not going to be at them, so I don't feel like I'm missing anything. And then also my friends and family have become so aware of what I probably will and won't be at, and they take no heed whatsoever. And I do try to go to things and that kind of stuff, and you're just sensible. You leave early, and you just are the designated driver or whatever it might be. But I think you can still be present and still enjoy the certain aspects of it, in fairness, but in a different way. Yeah, it's funny. I Like I was saying, I felt more so that I was missing out on something when I had all of the events and stuff, and it's probably just because of the way I'm tuned. Like, we tune in during the season, you just tune that stuff out then.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You're nearly more popular then when you are playing football, because they know you can give them all a lift home, I'd say, on the way home.
You're not coming out, Anna. Yeah.
For you growing up, like when you look back, you're 28 now. When you look back to when you were a teenager or even younger, is this the dream? Is this like, if I had gone back to maybe 7-year-old, 8-year-old Anna and said you're going to be playing for Kerry last year, you were captain, you got to the All-Ireland final, you won Division 2, would you have said, oh my God, that's all I've wanted? Was that for you growing up? Was that just what you wanted to do, what you dreamt of every day?
Yeah, even when you listed there and say, like, you're the captain of Kerry, you're playing in Crow Park and things like that, it still gives me butterflies now. Like, that's still the dream now, even. Um, so yeah, no, definitely. And uh, probably probably when I started playing with Kerry teams initially, I was like it was 14. I was under 14 when I played first, and then I kind of realized that, geez, I mightn't be, I could give this Kerry thing a bit of a go, and I was kind of really excited to get. I was kind of surprised. I was really surprised to get on this Kerry team actually when I was under 14, and then I started making the starting team pretty regularly, and I was being called up a level and things like that, which is kind of common with a lot of, like, the team that exists now. We always would have been playing up a level and stuff, and yeah, I suppose it was only then throughout my teenage years I was like, geez, this whole Kerry senior thing is, that it sort of kind of came into focus then. I probably didn't really think of it hugely when I was a whole pile younger, But during the teenage years, I was like, thought I suppose it was tangible at that point, and I was like, oh my God, that would be amazing. Imagine that. And my cousin played for Kerry, so I was looking up to her, Deirdre Carden. So I had and loads of, amazing Kerry footballers came from Southern Gales. Way back as far as like Marie, she's Marie Tian now, but she was Marie Fitzgerald at the time, and she would have been playing and winning All Irelands during the golden era. And her niece is playing with me now, and our club, I suppose, is steeped in amazing footballers all the way down through, and I was lucky to be looking up to them. So it probably was a dream. I didn't think I'd be someone who would be captaining the team ever. Always, I think everybody kind of dreams of those sort of moments and walking up the steps of Croke Park and things like that as a bit of a pipe dream. But I was very fortunate that would happen to be my reality last year. So, it was it's still surreal. It still gives me butterflies.
Yeah, no, I'd say so. And I heard before, I think it was another podcast, you were saying that you were actually called in late to, was it under 14? You were a couple of weeks late during the panel.
Yeah, a couple of the girls went to the trials, and I don't know, I didn't really know about them. Do you know, back then we didn't really use our phones half as much, and they just saw the management team, I think, were just going around to club games, and then I got called in, and they had done a load of training at that stage, and I sort of landed in a couple of weeks before the first game, and then I snuck away onto the team. So it's funny, like that season probably could have easily enough just gone by the wayside for me. And I was really lucky, like I live in the back of Beyonds of Kerry, down in Carradaniel, like we are so remote, and I'm really lucky that my mom she was so good to me, as in she drove the length and breadth of the county for her little under 14-year-old, her 14-year-old daughter to play a bit of football, like as in. And I know parents do these things for their children, but it was like I literally would not be playing football for Kerry now if it wasn't for my parents. So I was very fortunate that they were so supportive.
But when you mentioned there you were surprised and you didn't expect it, and you say you snuck onto the panel, there's a reason why they asked you in, and that they asked, you made your way onto the team. Was that just a bit of lack of confidence growing up? Did you suffer with that? Was it a bit of lack of belief, or what was, when you say surprise, was that, what was the kind of reason for that?
Maybe just no, I don't necessarily know if it was a huge lack of confidence or anything, but probably a bit of like I obviously know that I was a decent footballer, and I probably just, I suppose, a lack of insight into how useful that could be getting onto the Kerry team or whatever it might be. And I think as well, the lads that I was playing with, they wouldn't be too long taking you down a peg or two as well. So in fairness, I owe them. I've mentioned the lads a couple of times that I would have been like in my class with my classmates and things like that, and that I'd have obviously been playing with in my age group. And yeah, they definitely made me tough. They used to I think they used to be annoyed that I was better than them sometimes, and they'd do what they call Tyrone style on me. I should be saying this, but they'd be surrounding me and they'd just be hitting me nearly and taking the ball off me. And we were like 13 years old, like 12, 13 years old. And so I definitely owe some of my toughness to them, I'd say. And probably just didn't think that. I don't know. I don't think there was a huge lack of confidence or a lack of belief or anything. It was just something that I hadn't even considered until I started getting onto the team and I kind of realized that there was this whole other world, a whole another level that you could go to.
Yeah. Yes, you probably didn't realise the talent was there till you're about maybe 15 or 16 even.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And what's the most fun part of the journey? Like I've heard other people speak before, and I found with underage football, like I never played for intercounty or whatever, but underage I find was just so much fun when you look back. Is underage intercounty more fun than senior, or is it just completely different? Or what's the most fun part of the journey when you're going up through the age ranks up to, when you're 28?
Yeah, I suppose like I still have mad memories of going away. I think it actually was under 14 that there used to be, I don't know if it still is in existence, but there used to be the splits every year, and the teams, different counties would, when we did it anyway, it was in Kildare, I think, and so we'd travel and we'd stay overnight, and we were only under 14, and we were a whole team of us going away, and we used to have like mad crack. Sure, like if you're doing any of the stuff now, we were up. We used to be running the hallways of the hotels until until all hours in the morning and stuff. And a couple of the girls that we played football with growing up through the years, we got very close, and like there was always the same group going up through, because you're progressing, because you're like, it's a 2-year window, like on 14, 16, 18, you're with the same team all the time, so you become so close. And like some of the girls just mad, like we'd be, do you know what, if I was looking back and looking at a team like of under 14-year-olds or under 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds having food fights and stuff now, I'd be like, ah, for God's sake, lads. But we used to be reckless for that kind of stuff, and we used to just have great fun. Like we were probably, awful doses to be taken away. But yeah, it was just kind of mad. Like, and then I don't even remember, like I remembered like certain aspects of training growing up, and but so much of it was like the bus journeys and things like that when we were younger. And then when we started getting a bit older, it was kind of, I suppose, turned a little bit more serious, and kind of the enjoyment switched more so to, geez, the game day and the prep for game day and the getting ready to mark whoever, and you do get enjoyment out of that too now. And obviously the priorities, again, they switch very much so when you start going up through the ranks, obviously. And we thankfully matured enough to stop having food fights. But yeah, it was, we just had such a lovely bunch. And like if I met any, lots of them don't play actually, like from my age group, only a really small amount of us are still playing. Like Niamh Carmody would have been at the same age group as me. I'll probably forget someone now. Megan Connell, who stepped away last year, would have been another kind of key one. But there was like, and Eilish Lynch was a little bit older. She was like just 1 year ahead of me, so we used to overlap every kind of second year. But like other than that, there's like the group that I was with is kind of gone, and they're they're all unbelievable footballers. When you come up against them in club, you're like, geez, I'll have a tough day out here, kind of thing. And just for different reasons, people have to step away or don't continue on and things like that. But it was just, yeah, a class crew at the time.
When I think it was it 2012, you were 16, 17 going into your first All-Ireland final?
Yeah, 17.
Yeah. What's that like, being, first of all, being called up to the senior panel, being involved, but to make it to an All-Ireland final when you're, again, as you said, that was your dream, to be involved in the biggest days of the year. What's that like as a teenager, to be in school one day and be going into Croke Park the next?
Yeah, that was a mad, right? You feel very young going up to Croke Park. I suppose because I kind of was so new into the team, and the team was like real strong, and kind of, there's always, you kind of know the team is nailed down. So I kind of knew that I didn't have much chance getting onto the pitch in Croke Park. So I just had kind of just tried to enjoy the warm up and stuff. And it was just a bit, to be honest, it was probably a little bit overwhelming. I don't remember huge amounts of the game or anything like that. I sort of remember I do remember the warm up, and I remember going down to the sideline to warm up at one stage and stuff like that. But probably a bit overwhelming, and probably my focus was less on the game than it should have been. And when I went in initially to the Kerry team, like, well, it was a bit daunting, I won't lie. It's hard to step up to that level. You suddenly become like, when you're going up through the underage ranks, you're, I guess, a big fish in a small pond, and then very, very quickly that flips to you being a small fish in a much bigger pond with a lot of big fish in it. So yeah, that's, it's naive to say, or it's, it'd be silly to say that that's not a little bit daunting, but no, it was class, because like I was saying, loads of my club mates had been on the Kerry team growing up as well. So I did have, like, I had my cousin there at the time, and Caroline Kelly and Megan O'Connell were all in there, and the Cronin sisters. Like there was a load of Southern Gales people, so that was nice. And myself and my friend Amy Fitzgerald, who played basketball as well. The two of us went in at the exact same time. So even when we were a little bit like, what's happening, we had each other. But yeah, it's funny, like when I think about that All Ireland versus the one just gone, it's chalk and cheese. Like it was just so different. They were kind of worlds apart. But yeah.
What advice would you give, whether there might be someone listening, or more so, let's say, I'm coming into the Kerry setup for the first time, and I'm maybe 17 or 18, coming up from minor, and I'm gone from, as you said, the big fish in a small pond to a small fish in a big pond. What advice do you give to the younger players coming up? Or they don't have to be young, they can just be, they can be someone in their mid-20s, but this is their first senior into county call-up. What advice do you give them if you get a chance to speak with them? Or if there's anyone listening that that wants to learn or whatever, what would be the biggest piece of advice that you gave that maybe you wish you knew back then?
I suppose just to remember that you're there for a reason. Like, you're there because you're good enough. And like I said, I kind of knew that I wasn't necessarily going to get on the pitch that time, but something that we at training, when we're pushing each other at training and things like that, even now, the lads are always saying, make each other better, make her better. Come on, Anna, tackle hard and make her better, whoever I'm tackling, whatever it is. And so probably that is a huge thing. Like, even because I know when I step out and I've got like one of the new girls into the panel marking me, they're there to prove their point and say that, like, I'm here as well now, and I'm in here for a reason, and do remember that you are in there for a reason. You're well good enough to be there. And then I suppose just push whoever it is you're marking to their limit. You work as hard as you possibly can, and you will be making yourself better, but also the person you're marking better, and that ultimately impacts on the team. No matter what happens then that season, you have contributed massively to the team. So that's why it's a team sport. Like, that's why it's not about 15 people on the pitch. It's about like the 40, 30, whatever panel. Because if we have 2 or 3 people who aren't working hard in training, that's impacting negatively on whoever that they're marking. So just a reminder that, first of all, never forget that you're there for a reason. You're there because you're good enough. And then just when you are training, try to be the best that you can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good advice. When you mentioned the 2 finals being chalk and cheese, even the style of football and the standard of ladies football, that sort of 10-year evolution of the game, what's been the biggest evolution for you as a player to see, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch? What's been the biggest difference for you when you look through the 10 years? Obviously there will be a bit of, let's say, year maturing, but even the style of play, what's been the biggest difference you think over the 10 years?
So first of all, on the field, style of play, I think, like I said, it's become so physical. It's become like you need to be athletic, and I wish the rules would catch up a little bit with that. At the moment, like, we're training really hard. We're putting in, matters, S&C in the gym. We all work to be really strong, but it's very frustrating then when you get out into the pitch, and sometimes it's brilliant. It's refed from what I would perceive as very well, in that games are left go and like the play is left to develop. And then it's very frustrating when it's real stop start and small little fouls are being called, because, and look, technically, like, it's really difficult on the referees, because technically at the moment the rules do say that, like, it's they call it a non-contact sport, like, which is a joke. It's very frustrating. So we all know that it's a way better spectacle when the game is left develop, and when not only is it a better spectacle to watch, but it's better to play. Like, it's so good to play that then, and so free flowing, and that's when you can enjoy it. So there has been a shift towards more physicality, and hopefully the rules will catch up and might be changed a little bit so that we can have it that it's consistent, that physicality is across the board, as opposed to at the moment it's up to kind of the referee's interpretation of the rule and how free flowing they kind of want it to be. And then off the pitch as well, there's been huge strides in like facilities, in what we're afforded in terms of like food, getting food after trainings and things like that. I remember when I started that time, when we were in the All Ireland in 2012, the players, we used to do a rota. So like we do a rota of bringing sandwiches to training. So one player would make like the sandwiches for the team or whatever, just so that people weren't going home hungry. And you'd end up doing it like once, maybe twice a year. So it worked well. But like now we actually have like, we've hot food and it's prepared and it's done for us and things like that. And then access to pitches over the last year or two has gotten much better, in terms of like, all last year we played all our home games in Fitzgerald Stadium, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And like, you know, there was no question about us getting into Croke Park. We got into Croke Park for semi-finals as well as the finals, and hopefully that kind of keeps expanding, and all that makes such a huge difference. It means that when we get to the big days and we do end up in these bigger stadiums, people don't implode. Like, teams don't implode, and we're used to it, and there's, you know, the capacity is there for better recordings of the games, but more people to be able to attend. It'd be more of an event and get people out there and interested and watching. But I think there is still huge strides that need to be taken in that. Like, even this year, there's a question mark as to whether we'll get into either Fitzgerald Stadium or Stacks Park for all home games, which is so disappointing. Like, we're in Division 1 and we're still, you know, after last year when we had gotten in there all the time. And so I know the league structure has changed and a lot more games, and it is difficult when you've 4 codes playing in one county, and I understand they are technically GAA. They are GAA grounds, but it is frustrating when you like kind of you're treated like second class in your county. So huge positives have been taken in that area, but I see so much has yet to go, like so much more to come. I thought, like, even, you know, it's so nice. Like, I know at halftime of the games that we're on in Croke Park, like the semi-finals and finals and things like that this year gone, there was the mini games at halftime, and you've the girls teams playing against girl teams, and boys teams are there as well, and they're playing on the same pitches and they're getting ready in the same facilities. And I just would love for those girls to grow up with that being their norm, that no matter what, at no stage throughout their teenage years and into their 20s or their playing years or whatever, that the discrepancies stop being a thing, that there's just, you know, it is level par. And it probably will be those young girls like that are, I don't know what age they were, 10, 12. It probably will be them that will, before, you know, we don't have any discrepancies, or, you know, kind of up through the age grades. But if we just need to keep narrowing that gap, and keep fighting for it, which is so important. But yeah, there have been huge strides in the last 10 years.
Absolutely. We've kind of discussed this a good few times in the episode, so I won't delve too deep into it, but it's probably nearly an episode in itself, but there are a lot of moving parts. And obviously with the GA, or the Centre of Excellence last year, with Louise's picture being on it, and you's not getting access, like, it is, as you say, because it's the separate organisations, and technically it is a GA facility, so, and the LGFA is a separate organisation, but hopefully that'll all be sorted at some point. But I was really happy to see at the start of the year, I think a couple of counties have fallen in as well behind us, Mayo and I think Tipperary. They might have done last year, but the shorts that you guys wear now, match day, are now black. Just talk a little bit about that, what it's like as a player to kind of make that change. I know a lot of other counties have done it in the past, or clubs, a lot of Dublin clubs are the same with the kind of, let's say, a darker short just for girls. Yeah. But what's that like as a player as well to see that change this year?
Yeah, like, it's just another positive step, isn't it? And it's a small thing, like, it is a small thing, but then if you're stressed about that on game day, if you're stressed about leaking or whatever it is when you have your period, it is that is an unnecessary stress on you. So if you can just take that away from yourself, or away from a team, isn't that a positive? So that, people can just focus on playing the game, and doing what they need to be able to do on game day, and that's just one less thing to have to think about. And it just means, yeah, it is. It's just one less thing to be kind of as a distraction or anything like that, and focus can be on what is important on the day of games or training and things. There's still there's challenges with that regardless of what color the shorts are and so on. But it's good to be in, that there's the conversation around it. There's still, even in terms of that though, there's still like stadiums or any club grounds or pitches in general are set up for men. And like, it's rare enough to have dressing rooms that have sanitary bins and stuff like that in the toilets. Like, that is rare. Like, even in the stadium, in Fitzgerald Stadium, I don't think there often weren't for a little while. I think last year then they were brought in because we were in there so often, which is good. Like, they should just be there. But even at the weekend when we were playing Mayo, they weren't there. And like, that's, if they're not even in our centres of excellence, if they're not in our stadiums, how do we, expect clubs to kind of follow suit and things? So there's still, it's just a bias towards men being in dressing rooms across the board. But at least the shorts has been positive for kind of managing stress and everything around it, but also it just brings forth the talking points around the fact that females and males have different things to be concerned about. And in a sporting context, for female health, these things need to be considered. For a female sports person, there are, different things to be considered. Obviously, the menstrual cycle is one of those, and it is really important that girls are educated around minding themselves with that and knowing, how to vary their diet or increase their calorie intake or increase their whatever it might be. I don't even know enough about it, and I've been playing for however many years. So there's huge things that still need to happen in terms of supporting females in sport. But I think the shorts is a positive step in terms of, like I said, managing stress, but more so as, I suppose, an opening for the conversation around, making sure that we are considering both females and males when it comes to all the sporting conversations.
Yeah, that's a really good point. In terms of pre-game routine and even post-game routine, I find fascinating, like, when you get such an adrenaline rush, during a game, let's say even the late training session and you're coming back from the car, like, is there anything you do routinely, maybe after a game or after a session, to kind of come down off this massive adrenaline rush? And I find even when I train late, I can't sleep for hours after because I'm just buzzing with energy after you train. And is there do you find that, do you have any way to combat it? How do you find it?
Not too bad. I think because even when we're training at home in Kerry, I have generally an hour and a half car journey home. So I use it usefully. Like, sometimes I just, sometimes I want a bit of time and I use the time to kind of think about the session for a little while, but then I just like to switch off, listen to the radio, listen to podcasts, and I have that kind of downtime on the way home. So then when I get home, I can just go to bed. I wish you getting into bed at that stage. But that is because that's like a learned thing. And it's the same before games. 9 times out of 10, I will have a decent bit of a journey to the match venue. So you use that time to kind of tune in. Not immediately, like I wouldn't be trying to tune in for an hour and a half or anything like that, because you'd be wrecked before you even start the game. But I do have that sort of time where you can kind of, okay, other things fall away, you're just relaxing, and then you can kind of start to, think about the game as you get a bit closer to the venue. And then on the way home, it's similar. Okay, think about training. Then as you get a little bit further away from the venue, you start to decompress and just switch off to other things. So it's lovely that I do have that kind of, you have to make the best of those sort of, I have the commutes, you may as well make the most of it. And I use them as kind of time to decompress and get switched on.
Okay. Are you good at kind of in the car on the way home, compartmentalizing kind of maybe what happened, whether it's a match or, let's say for example yesterday, are you good at just when you walk off the pitch, leaving the match where it is? Do you go home and watch it? You know, how do you deal with that?
It can vary a little bit, but a lot of the time I won't watch it immediately. I definitely try to like decompress the next day as much as I can and not think too much about it, because you'd just be wrecked, to be honest. You'd be so tired the day after a game. You'd be physically drained, you'd be tired and things after like all of everything that surrounds the match. But also you're a bit emotionally drained as well and things. So generally it takes me a couple of days to get around to watching those kind of things. But would try to watch them for the most part, and the lads would be very good for kind of sending on clips and different bits and pieces that we need to watch. So that's always handy. And then yeah, that's probably kind of a big thing. And we are so lucky that they take a lot of the work. Like, sorry, by they I mean Darren, Declan, our managers and our management team take a lot of, as much as they can, off us as well, in that they tell us exactly what we need to be watching or send on the clips when we need to. They don't and they tell us when we need to be training, and they have gym sessions ready for us for the week. Or CAS or SNC would always have that, and then as well they always make themselves available if we they wouldn't want us thinking about it for the week either. And if we can't get something off our mind or we need to talk about something, we can touch base with either of our managers or any of our management team. Like we've Geraldine O'Shea there and Maria O'Donoghue, both have played, and Cass, our SNC, and Eric, our new SNC this year, which is brilliant. Like that our team is expanding, but yeah, like we can get onto them at any stage for feedback, and they're just so open to it. So if we, and like as like I said, we have a performance psychologist, things like that. So when we do need, if we can't decompress from it and we need help with that, and we need to chat to somebody to get through whatever it is that we're like, whatever is going on after a game, we can always kind of touch base with them, which is a huge help. And then you can sort of park it and move on to the next task at hand.
Mm-hmm. Talking about last year, obviously league title, went all the way to the All-Ireland final. What was the goal going into the year? Kind of, if I'd said to you maybe this time last year and said, Annie, you're going to go on and you're going to, first of all, you're going to captain the team, which I know you've done before in 2020, but you're a captain of the team, you're going to win the league and you're going to make the All-Ireland final. What would you have said? Was that, that's obviously the goal, but was that laid out and planned that these are the goals we're going to take, or was it just the momentum just started to build and you just started to kind of find this flow nearly during the year?
No, we asked, it was actually put to us at the start of the year, and as to what our goal was for the year ahead. And I think a lot of us did put down, not all of us, because like you can understand where the team is coming from too, I suppose. But there were some of us that put down an All-Ireland final. And especially the ones who have been around a long time. Like, we're not coming back for the good of our health. We aren't, but we're coming back because we want to win the All-Ireland. So yeah, loads of us would have been kind of like that. But then I definitely would have, in my head, I definitely would have been like, okay, obviously an All-Ireland final is exactly where we want to go, and that is where we want to be at the end of this year. But I try not to think too far ahead. Like, as in, again, this year, our goal is All-Ireland final, and we are, gunning for that Munster final, All-Ireland final, etc. But at the moment, all I think about is league. So like last year, my number one priority was to get out of Division 2, because that was like what was going to be coming up first for us. So yeah, I definitely go into the year, and I think loads of, and like definitely, if anyone had any doubt last year, we have that belief now across the team for sure. And that's what we set out to do again this year. But I think we are a very good team at kind of taking it step by step and going one game at a time. And then when it got to championship stage, we'd obviously been going well. Like, we'd won the league, and they had been really competitive games, and Armagh were fierce in those games. So we did have, sometimes you might be a little bit kind of nervous thinking, geez, I'm only in Division 2 and now I have to step up to the Division 1 teams when we get in championship. But we knew that we were playing against equal, teams of equal standard as the Division 1 teams with them. But yeah, I think then when you get into the championship, because it was so quick, so it was such a quick succession that you're kind of like, geez, we're in the All-Ireland final. Suddenly we were in the All-Ireland final. You're like, wow, like when did this happen? Because the quarter semi and the final all came so quickly. So yeah, like a bit of a combination in that, like there was always the belief that we would get there, but then when we actually were there, we were like, holy sugar, like how did this happen? So it was class.
And when you mentioned, you said before the preparation for 2012 was obviously very different to last year. How do you prepare for an Iron final? When obviously I'd say the night of the semi final there was great celebrations, but when you knuckle down, when you've got a few media duties here and there, how do you prepare for the biggest day of the year? Because when you put it like in black and white, it is the biggest day of the year. It's where you want to be. So when you're in that position, is it scary? Do you kind of shit yourself? Do you kind of what is it like? Kind of the weeks leading up to it.
No, I think like something that we said amongst ourselves was like, there's absolutely no point. There's no point whatsoever saying, oh, you shouldn't be nervous, or you can't be nervous and you can't be excited. You have to just focus on training, because for God's sake, you're in the All-Ireland final. Like I said, it's the biggest day of the year. You're not going to be nervous. You're not going to be excited. So we very much so encourage like everybody just embracing it, kind of saying like, geez, this is absolutely unbelievable, like class. But then like we did with the league and all the games throughout the season, we took it back to kind of, okay, what's the next step on the road? And we took it in steps then to the game, and then suddenly you're kind of at the game. And so it wasn't this is going to be a whirlwind 2 weeks. Like it was very stepped as well. Like we took it training by training and day by day. And yeah, the media bits and pieces were so like, again, the lads were very good at managing a lot of that, and they kind of got some of the older girls who have been around a while and would be kind of used to that without it taking too much out of us, to try and do the main media bits. And obviously then I had a few bits more to do, and it is tiring, I won't lie. It probably, upon reflection, it was a little bit more tiring than I thought it was going to be, or thought it had been. And like that's all a learning curve, isn't it? And like because I know that, then I can, like, hopefully Shiva will be in this position and we can take as much of the pressure off her as much as possible, and I know that it is hard, so we can try to help her out as much as we can. But do you know what? Saying that about Shiva, she that girl now, water off a duck's back.
She's a great head on her shoulder.
Yeah. She's better than all of us. So I don't know why I'm saying it about her, but do you know, in general, like with teams, we've all been there now, so we can kind of help each other out a little bit more. And just have that little bit of understanding that stuff is tiring, and that's okay. And just to, maybe take that extra little bit of time to rest. Real simple things, but like just practical things, like, okay, you have your media day, and it's going to be more tiring than your day at work, whether you realize that or not. So just make sure that you have that evening free to relax and just do nothing and switch off, because all you're going to be doing is talking about football all day. So just kind of tuned into those little things as well is always helpful. But yeah.
Completely, yeah. No, that's a good point. And even as you said there, obviously you didn't get over the line, but that's one thing. But just to learn from the experience, and even learn those little bits about media day, you don't learn it till you're in it. Like till you're, in 2021 you wouldn't have known that. So to go forward into this year, with obviously Shiva taking the lead, I've interviewed her. I think she's gas. She's some character. And like And do you think, like, let's say on the pitch, what's the biggest difference then to get over the line from your perspective? What did you learn from the final, from the championship last year? Obviously, even from these two first wins in Division 1, what's going to be the difference to getting over the line, whether it's this year or next year or the year after, or like what is the difference maker to get up the steps on All-Ireland final day?
I do think that like the experience definitely goes a long way, and like I said, we can learn so much from last year. The difference then is that, like, we make sure that we reflect on what we have learned and bring it with us, because there's no point going through it and then sort of forgetting about it and not taking heed of it. Like you have to draw on what you can. We didn't get over the line, so why didn't we? And just try to bring those bits forward. Like 2 years ago, we lost the league final to me actually, but that was our first day out in Croke Park in a long, long time. So then when we came back around last year, we were playing against Armagh, and we had been in that position already, and that stood to us so much, like tenfold. So, and I think, and then when we were heading into the quarters and the semis and things like that, we had Croke Park wasn't an elusive, as in, yeah, it wasn't an elusive place. It wasn't this like place that, geez, oh my God, we're in Croke Park. We all have to, panic about that or anything like that. It was just a bit more normal. Although that's kind of a silly thing to say as well. Playing in Croke, there's nothing normal about playing in Croke Park ever, but it's less daunting, and you can kind of, I suppose the excitement of it still exists, but it can be more, I suppose, controlled excitement. And you can kind of manage your emotions and feelings a little bit better when you have been there. So hopefully all of that just comes with us, and we do, like, I suppose we're work on where we fell short, and we've kind of identified a lot of that ourselves anyway, and we worked on that together as a team and things like that with management. So yeah, you have to bring the learnings with you though. If we don't learn, then what are we doing? And I know that's what every team is doing, so just to make sure that we put in the hard work then as well.
Mm-hmm. What's it like playing alongside Louise Murray-Hartley? I love watching her play. I just think she's just a fabulous footballer. But what's it like to actually share the pitch with her? Do you just, even at training, just go, oh my God, like, do you just look in awe sometimes what she does, or what's it like being her teammate?
Yeah, sometimes like you're just back to, like, I might be like out around midfield or whatever, and she does something mad, and you kind of were like, stop, like Louise again. And do you know what? But it's funny though, like we're so close and we know each other so well at the same time. You're not really in awe. She'd hate for us to be in awe around her anyway. But no, like it's kind of impossible not to be. She's class. She's just brilliant, and she's just such an unassuming person. And she's just such a great teammate. But I suppose I don't see her as, and now I don't really see her as like Louise Murray-Hartley, the Kerry superstar. She's Hertig to us, and she's just yeah, I don't know. It's funny, like
there's no airs or graces
no,
there.
not anymore.
You take her down off the peg, do you?
No, we know we're very lucky. I'm very lucky to get to play alongside her. Like, she's what a baller, but yeah, just not what a thing to be used to, but I'm used to playing with her now. So lucky, so fortunate to be lucky to be used to that.
Very good. Final question before I move on to sideline 7. I kind of asked a couple of people this question, but it's kind of, people are nearly sick of it. But what's the most underrated skill in ladies football at the moment, in your opinion? Is there anything we're overlooking as coaches, whether it's underage or senior? Is there anything you just recognise that, we don't pay enough attention to, we need to develop more?
Yeah, left leg, right leg. I think when a player, and like myself included, I'm not good enough at it at all. And when a player can kick off their left leg and right leg, they are so difficult to mark. So it's such a huge attribute of somebody if they can do that. And it's just something, like we were saying at the start of the show, or the start of the podcast, it's not taught growing up, and I hope that has changed so that girls are being taught that all the time coming up through the age groups, because it just wasn't when we were younger. There wasn't enough emphasis on it, and it's frustrating now to be in a position where you do have to try and learn it, and work on it. But yeah, 100% left leg, right leg.
Okay, very good. We're going to move on to sideline 7. It's the same 7 questions at the end of every episode. I think you've listened to the podcast, Anna, so I'm expecting some good answers. All those journeys in the car. Question 1, Anna, what is your favourite quote?
I don't know if I can say this. Don't mess with the big dogs and you piss like a puppy. That's a shout out to Kate Keeney. She used to say that when we were in college, and it has resonated with me. So I think it's just a case of if you're going to step up, do step up. Like if you're brought in, like what we were saying with the girls coming into pans and stuff like that, you're there for a reason. So do what you're
Yeah.
there to do.
Right, okay. Very good. Well, I'm actually meant to ask you about UL. Obviously, you won the O'Connor Cup there. Was it 2017 or so? But what's it like at college level? Like when you look at the kind of the team lists, I was looking at the other day for a Division One league. Even it's just the talent that's there from all the different counties. What's it like being able to play with girls from other counties, and how close is it to senior intercounty football? Is it the same standard? Is it is it that little bit below? What is it like at O'Connor Cup level?
Um, yeah, it was class, and like when we were playing in UL, do you know what? That's one environment where the men, the men's football, hurling, camogie, and ladies football were like part and part, like they were on par with each other. Everything that they got, we got. Like everybody got the same thing, and I just thought that was class to be around. First of all, but yeah, playing with girls, gas. Like we lived in each other's pockets. We spent all our time together. We were I don't know, it probably wasn't healthy, but so it was so much fun. And like those girls that I met in UL, like the likes of Emer Scally and Lisa Crowley, Maria Curley, Fiona McKenna, like these are all people I lived with and played football with in UL, and like they're friends that I will have for life. Again, you have the same mindset. You're all of the same mindset, and you're going through the same. So you're experiencing the college journey very different to the majority, but ye as a small bunch are experiencing it the same way, and that just makes you very, very bonded, really close. So yeah, it's amazing. It's so much fun.
Okay, very good. Question two: what's the best sporting event you've been to? And you pick one as a fan and one as a player.
I was so probably recency bias, but obviously as a player, I think even though we lost, I still think being in Crow Park on All Ireland final day is an unbeatable experience. But maybe I might be pipped at the post by winning the Division Two last year. Walking up the steps of the Hogan actually is just, yeah, that is just the stuff dreams are made of. And then I was in Crow Park when Shawnee Shea put the ball over the bar to beat the Doves in the semi-final this year.
You had to pick that one, did you? You just had to.
They're recency bias. They're the most recent things, but yeah, there was some good sporting moments for Kerry this year. Sorry, Willa.
It's all right. It's all right. We'll be back. We'll be back. Is there anything on your bucket list? Is there anything you'd love to go to? Obviously, the Olympics is coming up. I've just applied for tickets, but is there anything on your bucket list you'd love to go to, whether it's kind of a team sport or individual sport or anything?
um, Geez, the Olympics. I haven't even thought of that. That'd be unbelievable, wouldn't
I'll send you the link for the tickets.
Geez, that would be absolutely class. Do you know what I'd be more interested? I'd love to go to the Rugby World Cup. I don't know. I just I love watching the international rugby, and yeah, that'd be class. Um, Sporting wise, that would be unreal. And then um, bucket list of other things is extensive, but I'd love to do. I definitely at some stage need to get a bit more traveling in.
Very good. Question three: what's been the biggest setback or challenge so far in your career, and how did you react to it?
When I was younger, I tore my cruciate, and I think that was really tough. I found that was probably the biggest setback. I probably didn't handle it very well, and I was really young, and I was like 17 or 18, and I probably didn't use the resources around me well enough. They were there, and I just didn't look for help. I didn't ask for help when I needed it. So that was a pretty big setback, I think. But I got through that. And then, biggest challenge, I think, is a different thing. I think that's something to be embraced. I think probably losing last year's final poses a huge challenge because you have to be able to pick yourself up and dust yourself off. But that is a challenge that I'm very, very happy to be able to embrace again this year.
That's a really good answer. I like the way you split the two. Are you more motivated by success or I call it failure, but a challenge? Let's say for example, are you more motivated by winning Division Two, or are you more motivated by losing the All Ireland final?
Oh, that is tough. I think Oh God, I think it probably can vary a little bit. But probably the losses drive you on to get what you like that. It is that elusive thing that is just ever so slightly out of reach. Is that thing we just haven't gotten our hands on yet. And you're kind of, isn't it like the carrot with the donkey? You're kind of just, you're always trying to get that one thing that you just haven't gotten to yet. So probably that, yeah.
Okay, very good. Question 4, kind of on the flip side then, what's been your biggest achievement on or off the pitch?
Um, I think on the pitch, I think like in terms of sport, in terms captaining Kerry last year was just so privileging. I like, it was just such a privilege, and like I was saying earlier, I still get butterflies thinking about it all and everything. But yes, that was a huge one, and being part of the team playing for Kerry last year was just unreal. And then off the pitch, I think I went back to college. I did a master's, and I did, have found a career that I love. So I'm an occupational therapist now, and I like I was saying, I loved Australia, but I came home from Australia to sit an exam to try to get into my master's. And when I got into that, I was so relieved, and I was pretty proud of myself for getting through that master's. So that's probably a big one off the pitch.
Question 5, looking back, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Um, Again, what I probably would have said to the younger players coming in, like just have that confidence in yourself, and sort of enjoy things while you're in them. Now I've gotten to learn that you have to enjoy things while you're in them. Last year embraced it so much, this year embracing it so much, because you don't know when it's all going to end. Which is, that's a bit glum, but like like you don't. So just to embrace and enjoy everything that you have. I definitely, towards the end of college, I was really getting the swing of that and just was loving every minute of that. But at the start, it's tough going, and you can find it difficult and things. But just try to touch base with people a little bit more and get linked in, get connected in with more people if you have to, if you need that, and then that'll help you to be able to enjoy where you are.
Okay, very good. Question 6, who would be your dream dinner guest and why? You can open up the table to a few people if you want.
I wouldn't mind sitting down with Michael Jordan. I feel like he was. Do you know what? I have a bone to pick with him. I didn't like how he treated his players, his teammates.
Okay,
Loads of people are
interesting.
like, "Oh no, he just had to be that way." I was like, "No, no, he could be that driven," and I think he didn't have to be so ruthless, so heartless. But that one's definitely a bit controversial.
Yeah, would they have won the 6 championships, you think, if he was a bit nicer?
I don't know. I don't know. But
this is
yeah,
this is why
this
you have
is
to
it.
ask him.
This is it. Yeah. But yeah, I thought I've had this argument with people. I was like, I think he was a bit of a bully, and people are like, "What? No, he wasn't." I was like, "Well, I think he was."
Yeah, that's fair.
um,
That's fair. And yeah, I think you're right. People would agree with you, like maybe his teammates or something. But that would be an interesting conversation.
yeah. Anyone else? Even like ones like Jacinda Ardern having the balls to say like, "No, I need to step away," and then just around how she managed all of those negative comments towards her and everything like that. That was mad. Like that's just mad. So kind of probably that's a bit topical. But just as a female leader, I think very impressive that she was able to manage it for so long, and then how she does deal with all that. Um, I think there's a lot to learn there. They'd be probably two key ones at the minute that I can think of.
Okay, very good. Final question before I let you go. You've been so generous with your time. If your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
Um, if in terms of my whole life in general, it's definitely somewhere in the middle pages. But I don't know if we're thinking sport in terms now, we're coming towards I'm gonna say the pinnacle, hopefully.
The
Yeah.
Pinnacle.
So
Okay, I
that's the
like it.
sport in terms for this year. I think that this year is, yeah, well, I'm gonna go with the pinnacle.
Okay, very good. No pressure or anything,
Yeah.
just managing the expectation there. But Anna, thanks a million for joining me on the podcast. I'm really glad we got to sit down and do this, and best of luck with the year ahead.
Thank you so much, Orla.
A big thank you to Anna for joining me on today's episode. You can find all of her social media links in the description box below. If you are enjoying the podcast, please do leave a rating and a review over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as it does help the show grow. Check out our new website feature on the One to Watch series, available over on thesidelinelive.com/one to watch.